What is up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the certifiably suave Dr. Disaster, and this should not be much of a surprise to anyone with a functional brain. But it turns out that in order to sell video games, you need to have a main character that people kinda look up to, that people kind of admire. If it's a dude, he should be ripped or athletic or something like that, and if it's a woman, she should be good looking. But for the love of all things holy, they should not give off these vibes.
It doesn't feel like me. I look like a man in a dress.
Well, no fucking shit.
The gaming industry has been chock full of developers who are very into the gender ideology shit, pushed by the they-them crowd and by feminists, and it led to games like Star Wars Outlaws, where they took an actress featured on the left who is actually a very pretty-looking woman, and they transformed her into the hideous mess that you see on the right. That is what they thought people were going to want to see on the screen for that game. They thought gamers would want to play that.
No, I don't think I will.
And that's just one example of many in the industry. They did that sort of shit with the PlayStation Horizon series, where the developers made you use the fat chick with facial hair, but even that series has learned its lesson. Horizon Steel Frontiers allows you to create your own character, and the results, as you can see from the images in this tweet, are leaps and bounds better than what we were given in the mainline series. At least the Korean developers aren't warped into thinking that this sort of thing is okay, and for that we would like to collectively say,
"Oh, thank you very much."
Meanwhile, the people at Crystal Dynamics, who have overseen the transformation of Lara Croft from an iconic sex symbol to just some chick on the screen in their latest video games, and in the cartoon she looks like a man in a wig, but the folks at Crystal Dynamics are the current stewards of the Tomb Raider franchise, at least partially responsible for the transformation of Lara Croft's aesthetic, and despite having ownership of this extraordinarily iconic video game IP, they have been undergoing a shitload of layoffs. In fact, another round of layoffs representing more than 10% of their total workforce just happened. It was just announced. And considering how they have fumbled Lara Croft and also worked on the now canceled Perfect Dark game, where they intentionally uglified Joanna Dark, well, they are now reaping what they sow, and I don't think they like the scent of what they've done.
Oh, this smells like shit.
You have done that yourself.
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've had a lot of people tell me that they have been unwillingly unsubscribed to the channel. Almost every day I hear from someone who says they didn't believe me when I talked about this phenomenon, but then they noticed that they themselves were unsubbed from the channel. I don't know why it happens, but I hear it a lot. So check into that and hit the notification bell while you're at it. But alrighty, let's take a gander at what we have going on with Crystal Dynamics. And just for a refresher as to what I was talking about before, Crystal Dynamics was working on this Perfect Dark reboot that I have playing in the background here that was supposed to have come out in the next year or so before it was canceled earlier this year. There was a gameplay trailer for that game and everything, which suggests that they were pretty deep into its development when it got the axe. And I think the reasoning behind canceling that game was pretty damned clear. Look at what they did to my girl Joanna Dark here. She used to look like that image on the left, and in the new game, she looks like that image on the right with a big old squared off man jaw. And once again, quite similar to what we saw with Star Wars Outlaws, they went out of their way to make this actress, who was quite feminine in real life, they made her look like a dude. The gal in this image is the actual actress that they were using for the model of this game. This really begs the question though, why is it that whenever a Western studio captures an actress like Deborah Wilson, they are always able to perfectly capture exactly what she looks like on the screen? Or they can also do that with male characters. As an example, look at the Cal Kestis character in Jedi Survivor. He looks just like the actor. But when it comes to an attractive female, they go out of their way to make her look different. And anyone who tells you that this has nothing to do with ideology and trying to push feminist drivel onto the masses, anyone who tells you otherwise is full of shit. They either don't play video games and have no idea what they're talking about, or they're purposely lying to suit their own purposes. But anyhow, Crystal Dynamics was a part of the Perfect Dark game, which got the boot because I imagine that Xbox, the publishers of that game, are well aware what sort of backlash they were walking into by pushing out that game. But with that in mind, Lara Croft has also been purposely altered in order to fight back against the evil male gaze in recent years, and this sort of thing has cost the Tomb Raider brand significantly. Put all of this together and you can see why Crystal Dynamics would be hurting right now. But let's read about this news that they are letting go of a large chunk of their staff in this article from Insider Gaming, where the headlines tell us that the studio claims this is just reorganization, but I speak a little corporate bullshit and I can translate this. What they really mean to say is that the layoffs occurred because the money is not rolling in to pay for these people. I have to imagine that purposely damaging their brand, as they have done with Lara Croft, that's probably a good way to cause this sort of problem. Crystal Dynamics has been tasked with being the stewards of the Tomb Raider franchise by their owners, the Embracer Group. But anyhow, let's read the article. At the bottom there it says, for the third time in 2025, Crystal Dynamics has laid off more of its staff. As for why, it states that it's due to reorganizing that is necessary. Since 1992, Crystal Dynamics has delivered a solid lineup of games that many hold dear, from the epic Legacy of Kain series to the iconic Tomb Raider franchise. The company has a great legacy behind it. In recent years, however, it hasn't lived up to that degree. Its last big release, 2020's Marvel's Avengers, was a commercial and critical flop. Unfortunately, the one project hoping to change that, Xbox's reboot of Perfect Dark, was cancelled earlier this year. Now, after 2 already devastating layoffs, another one has come, this time firing 30 workers, and now that may not sound like a lot of people at first blush, but 30 workers represents more than 10% of the staff at the studio. The last report for the size of the studio had them clocked in at 277 employees just a few years ago. Now that they have undergone these layoffs, they are certainly lower than that. It is probably closer to like 225 or something like that, and that is before this last round of layoffs. Crystal Dynamics is plummeting down to Bioware levels of developers. But, as the article said, they were counting on Perfect Dark to help turn their fortunes around, but someone in the room really needed to speak up and tell them that nobody wants to play as these manly looking women. I don't know how that is hard to comprehend, but if you make a female character, then she ought to be someone that girls would want to cosplay as, because she looks beautiful. Otherwise, what are you doing? Anyhow, the article says next, in a LinkedIn post by the company, Crystal Dynamics released a statement regarding new layoffs. This time, it is letting go of around 30 staff members, though from which departments is unknown. As mentioned before, this is the third round of layoffs the company has had. The first happened in March with 17 employees, then the second in August after the Perfect Dark's cancellation with an undisclosed amount. Today, we've made the difficult but necessary decision to reorganize Crystal Dynamics studios and teams, the team stated on LinkedIn. As a result, we've parted ways with just under 30 team members across various departments and projects as we restructure the company and business for our next generation. Crystal deeply thanks all of those impacted for their incredible talent, hard work, and dedication, which helped shape the studio in so many ways. We are committed to offering our fullest resources and support to you during this transition. As with last time, Crystal Dynamics assures fans that Tomb Raider is still in development. In fact, it stated that as the realities of the industry continue to evolve, we've made these painful choices as a way to optimize the continued development of our flagship Tomb Raider game, as well as shaping the rest of the studio to make new games for the future. Once again, this is corporate BS. Cutting employees is not what you want to be doing when making a game. This is for purely financial reasons. And so now it seems clear that the entire future of this studio rests on that Tomb Raider game. There are signs that they are starting to take the brand seriously though, having cracked down on that tabletop game that was announced last year for Tomb Raider, which was woke as hell and didn't even let you raid any tombs. It will be interesting to see the first glimpses of the new Lara Croft in this new game. If they are serious about remaining alive as a studio, they will make Lara look like this again, instead of looking like this. And don't get me wrong, this version of Lara isn't ugly or anything like that. She just isn't the icon that she was before. This gets people talking about your game, whereas this makes people shrug their shoulders. But I'm gonna leave it there. What do you make of these layoffs? Drop your thoughts into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.